Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am very excited to be coming on today. This is my last live of 2020. Hallelujah. We have almost made it to the end of 2020. How good is that? I shouldn't say that because I kind of think I've learned so much this year. It has been a phenomenal year for learning and growth, and we can choose to take so much from it. At the same time, it's going to be a real relief to have it over and done with. And I hope that 2021 is inspired by 2020, So that was a very deep statement to start with, but that's how I'm feeling. I'm really looking forward to embracing all of the things that I've learned. And today, instead of bringing on a guest, I've chosen to come on alone and really talk to everybody who has been enjoying these sessions. Raise any questions, talk to some of the things that through the conversations and experiences I have had this year that I have learned in terms of what leaders need to be doing to move into 2021 with, the right energy. So I haven't gone live with a video today, so just bear with me. I'm just going to check everything is working so that I know I have people on and live. So just bear with me. I do. Todd, hi, how are you? I'm just going to put it up on here so I've got it playing in the background. Hi, Todd. Nice to have you here. Glad you're back online. And so I will ask everybody today, thank you for those who are on board already. I will ask you all to communicate with me. Please communicate. Let me know that you are there. This conversation is a conversation, I hope, with you. I don't have anyone here to talk to and bounce off and have a conversation with except for you. And that's really what I wanted to bring today. So any questions, any comments, any observations, I would love you to share them with me as we're moving through. And I am going to do my best to talk to you as opposed to at you. So Darren, hi. Thanks for joining. Welcome, welcome. The first thing I wanted to do is just really start off with, I'm talking about what do leaders need to be doing to move into 2021 and be ahead of the game. And there's been a lot of talk this year about the softer skills, and I hate calling them soft skills because I think they're very powerful, important skills, but the things that you need to do to connect. It's really shifted in business to be, I think it's becoming and needs to become a lot more human centered. And so it was interesting. I received an email today in response to my newsletter saying that it's challenging to really push yourself to take a break and to create downtime for yourself, because this person's feeling as if perhaps if you do take your foot off, that's not seen as positive by the leaders and the people around you. So leaders need to shift that perception. They need to shift that perspective. The only way we're going to go into the new year and we're going to be able to really drive success in teams is to be able to reconnect with why we're here, is to be able to be very clear on what needs to be done and how we're going to do it. But we need connection and we need trust. So trust is a big thing that I'd love to talk about today. So hi, Cheryl, how are you? Thank you for joining. Yes, it's been a year. It has been a year, but we have all grown. And I think, resilience is a very important topic as well. Thank you, Cheryl. I think, I have been so impressed to see how resilient people have been. I think the important thing for leaders to understand is that you're not always seeing everything. So when you're talking to your employees, when you're talking to your clients, you know, sometimes they may seem a little more resilient than actually what's going on underneath. So again, it's about connection. It's about building an environment of trust so that people can really feel as if they can bring these things to you and you can communicate openly. And so I think that is just so important for 2021. Look, this stuff's been important forever. I think it's just been magnified. So it's almost like we've got it under a magnifying glass now, and it's like, whoa, we really actually have to focus on these things. And a lot of leaders are really on that journey and are doing amazing things. I think there's a lot of leaders who are a little bit lost, are not as comfortable with these conversations. And then you've got that word vulnerability as well. Hi, Travis. How are you? Thank you so much for joining. Great to have you here from Colorado. Is it cold there at the moment? We don't have snow in winter in Australia, so I hope it's not too cold. I'm just going to check in on the other box. So thank you to everybody who is here and liking. Again, please comment. Let's start the conversation. What are your views on what leaders need to do in 2021 to really be ahead of the game? What are the things that have really been profound for you this year? What have you learned in terms of what it takes to be resilient? And why is that important? Well, I can tell you why I think it's important. So, as leaders, we need to be resilient because we need to be there for everyone else. And that's the other part. So just going back to that vulnerability conversation, as leaders, if we are not vulnerable, we're not accepting of the fact that perhaps we need some help and support as well. So I've got one random fly flying around with me in here, so at least I've got some company. So being vulnerable and open to not knowing, I think there's been a lot of people touching on this, and rather than it just being a word that's bandied around, it's so important. If you are, as a leader, able to be open and communicate with your team when you don't know, or when you're in this together kind of thing, then you are able to build an environment where people feel as if they can be really open and honest about how they're feeling and what's going on for them. Open and honest when they aren't able to do something. Something that came up early in this whole COVID situation was a lot of people were forced into this new working from home environment, excuse me, and they were finding that they actually didn't even know how to manage their day properly. So that's in terms of building an environment where people can be vulnerable and they can speak up and say, hey, can you give me some advice? Can you give me some feedback on how I need to manage my day, without seeing that as something to be fearful of, without seeing that as a sign of incompetence, being open and comfortable with that. So I think moving into 2021, we've got the opportunity to regroup a little bit. I think the worst thing leaders can do moving into 2021 is to just do it business as usual. So coming back after a break and launching into the world of getting things done, I think it's really important to just step back and take stock. One of the key elements that I think a leader needs to be doing is acknowledging the year that has been, and acknowledging the fact that people have been resilient, and that we may need to continue to focus on resilience for a little bit longer. Acknowledging that we don't know what's going to happen next, and looking at refocusing goals and plans. So, a lot of people do this. A lot of people are in that phase at the moment where they're planning and focusing on what's going to be happening next year. Bringing the team on that journey is going to be what's important. So rather than putting a plan in place and then giving it to your team in terms of this is what we need to do. Communicating and building trust from the ground up in terms of let's build these goals together. Let's look at why we are here. So I'm jumping around a little bit, but back to purpose. So why are we here? What is important? What is driving us as a team? How are we going to make a difference in 2021? How are we going to make a difference to ourselves, to our business and our success and our results, and most importantly to our customers? So looking at what it is beyond the day-to-day results, that is the reason why you're here. So you hear the Simon Sinek work. He's amazing, and he talks about people buy why, don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And so, the same goes for when you're leading your team. They need to know why they're there and why they are important in terms of achieving something that is bigger than them, that is even potentially bigger than the business that you're in. I've lost the name of someone really, really famous. It's completely gone out of my head. The guy who ran Microsoft, Bill Gates, there it is. He was always, and this is something that came out of Simon Sinek's most recent book, The Infinite Game, but Bill Gates is always looking for something bigger. He's always targeting something that's bigger than him and getting his team on board, focusing on something that's bigger than them. So, what is that for you for 2021? What is that for your team? And how are you going to sort of set a framework for everybody to build off? So, and the framework is the purpose, but is part of it. But trust is really the foundation, and that is something that I think in 2020 some people have struggled with in terms of not being able to get a line of sight on their teams. And so I'm just going to jump back into the chat and see who's there and what we're discussing. Thank you, Darren. So such an important topic. So many leaders believe that trust comes through their title. Yeah. Great leaders understand that trust. I've lost it. Hold on, it's gone. It's moved. That trust is earned. We earn the right to lead our team. Absolutely, we do. And I think there's some fundamental things you can be doing or you must be doing as a leader to earn that trust. I've talked about vulnerability, so it's being open. It's allowing yourself to be open and raw enough to acknowledge that you don't know everything, but also open and vulnerable to making mistakes. Because again, we don't know what's right in this current environment. The other part is setting some structure. So that's where it comes. I'm talking about the goal setting. So if you have structure, then you've got, again, it's part of the platform that you can build off, and trust comes with structure because you've got something to manage to, and you've got something to align to, and you've got something to measure. And you can focus on, and this is something I've been raving on about on LinkedIn for a while, is you can focus on outcomes, not hours. And that is a crucial differentiator. So you need to trust people to do what they need to do. You need to trust people to manage, to be able to focus on the outcomes they're there to achieve, and let them know that that's okay. So yeah, thank you, Darren. Now I just noticed someone else is from Virginia, and it is snowing today. So how wonderful, a white Christmas. That's very cool. I grew up in the UK, and I loved, that's one thing I did love, was having the white Christmas. And sometimes it was a bit just a slushy Christmas in the UK, but yeah, just sort of snuggling in front of the fire and enjoying the traditional outlook. So that's great. Thank you for joining. And Sue has said how to create a culture of trust. curious which leaders have demonstrated significant culture change in 2020. Large organizations now hiring culture change managers as new positions for their organizations. That's a really good question, Sue. Thank you for asking. And I think building a culture of trust does have so many elements, and it does incorporate some of the things I've already been talking about around vulnerability. I think accountability is one, and I'll touch on goals shortly. Some of the larger organisations, I think, are very conscious and aware that this is something they need to address moving forward. And there's a lot more. I'm seeing a lot more uptake in. Actually, in technology that drives connection and collaboration and commitment, and so looking at the I think perhaps bringing culture change managers in is a good concept, but really a lot of people are using technology to do that. So there are some really great tools out there now. And one of the things that I'm talking to a lot of my clients about is engagement surveys. So firstly, actually connecting back and looking what's really going on in your business, and where the lack of connection and engagement is, so that you can actually shift the dial specifically, as opposed to just trying a bit of everything. So yeah, look, I think change management is going to be really important. I think it's going to be gradual. And again, we kind of don't know what the new world is really going to look like. So it is putting some of these key things in place as leaders, and bringing the team on that journey as well, in terms of what does change need to look like to allow us to achieve what we need to achieve in 2021. And then, realigning the goals, the structure, the standards and expectations within your business as well, in terms of what's going to be important and what's going to be different, and how are we going to communicate as a team to make sure this works. And of course, you're going to have the hybrid models as well. So you're going to have people working from home, you're going to have people working from the office. And it's going to be a really challenging transition, and using technology and tools to enable collaboration. So there's things like, oh gosh, again, that's gone out of my head. It's one of those days. There's a company called Culture Amp who do a wonderful software product which enables you to really connect to and control and sort of work with in your culture, and really allows some great communication, and there's some fantastic measurement tools in there as well. There's a company I work with called ShareTree, and ShareTree do some incredible stuff around engagement and acknowledgement programs, and gratitude programs. And so incorporating that in as a technology and as a consistent process, I think that's something you're going to see more and more from large companies, but also from small companies. And I think if you can get this stuff in from the ground floor in 2021, it's going to add a huge amount to your ability to manage positivity and culture and results and success moving forward. And it's going to be really helpful to leaders who maybe are a little bit lost or not comfortable with some of the things we're talking about. Is how do you actually put that in place and use a tool to enable it, so that again it's not just a soft skill. It becomes something that's embedded in the structure and the processes of the organization. So that is a big answer to that, Sue. But I do think that, so more companies are deploying and looking at how they can optimize and change culture using the different technologies and so forth. Christian, thank you. Hi, Christian. Acknowledging every single country you operate in and where your customers are and how they are affected, restricted throughout this year is important to capture now before the new year. Great point. Great point. And interestingly, I've been talking to a couple of companies who, excuse me, have built global teams and obviously many companies have global customer bases, and so it is absolutely something that we need to be 100% mindful of, because it's really different for different people in different parts of the world. I actually think that this is a really great opportunity for globalization as well. So, I think more companies are going to start to embrace um, the concept of building global teams. And so I think, being aware of how it's impacting in different countries and how it's impacting different people is so important. And you can, this has really enabled leaders to start thinking more globally, at least more regionally, and potentially. I know a couple of clients or companies who have already been building global teams just by that's just been the default. It's just been what they've focused on. They know they can get the skills in different countries. They know that they can work with companies around the world. So they've been identifying and hiring people. And that, again, comes with a whole lot of cultural issues and challenges. I shouldn't say issues, probably more challenges. Sorry, I'm just playing with my, make sure that's there. And I think, Christian, to your point, is gathering that data now and then resetting in the new year and really reassessing what are the goals, what is the focus, how are we going to go about things differently so that we can engage all of our customers and all of our staff in all of the countries so that it is relevant and it's going to work for them, most definitely. So I think I've touched on a lot of the things that I sort of had written here on my notes. I just had a few things that I wanted to cover, and trust is just the one that I keep coming back to. And I've mentioned structure. So I think, for me, if you've got if you're building trust, you need a number of pillars. So vulnerability is one, but communication is another, and structure is so important too. So let people know what it is, or let people set their goals in terms of specifically what they're going to try and achieve, and focus on enabling them to achieve those things and acknowledging when those things are achieved. Set really clear goals, clear set standards and expectations. In terms of, for example, we're focused on outcomes. We are really focused on achieving these goals, however we do that, and hours are not so important. Perhaps hours are important in your organization, but when those hours are worked, perhaps is not such an issue. So being really, really clear on those standards, those expectations, and how you're going to engage as a team towards that purpose and towards the goals that you're setting as a business. But the other thing, I think, is being mindful of not overdoing those goals. So adjusting, perhaps. Again, we kind of don't know what's going to happen. A lot of businesses are getting back on track in terms of engagement with their customers, but maybe just taking those goals back a little bit. And this comes into the mental health element. If people are just being pushed and pushed and pushed, and they're having to run on adrenaline 100% of the time, and they're worried about their jobs, or they're worried about other things going on in their lives, you're never going to get the best out of people. So leaders must, moving into 2021, be very mindful of that. And so just softening the goals so that they are stretch for the current environment and reasonable and attainable is really, really important. And then checking in on that regularly. So I think the other part is with the communication is not feeling as if you're over communicating. I don't think you can ever over communicate in the environment that we're in now, but make that communication, make it real. So aligned to what's really going on for people. But when it comes to the goals and the expectations and the standards and all of those things, align your weekly catch-ups to those things. Firstly, always, this is I'd suggest to everyone, when you're going into your weekly catch-ups with people, and you should be having weekly catch-ups with people, you ask them what they want to congratulate themselves on for the last week. What have they actually achieved? Give them something to hang their hat on. What is it that they can be proud of? Which is, again, a really great platform for trust. It's a really great platform for connection, and it also allows someone to see that they are achieving something. And it may be that they congratulate themselves that they have shown resilience this week, or that they have come at this week with optimism and a growth mindset. But what can they congratulate themselves on? And then congratulate them on something that you can acknowledge in them. It's a brilliant way to start your one-to-one or one-on-one conversations. You can do exactly the same thing when you do team stand-ups as well. So start with an acknowledgement, start with something positive, and ask people to do this for one another. This is so important moving into 2021. A lot of the time we've kind of been, I feel as if we've been chasing our tails a little bit this year. And so to take stock, take a breath, and start with these things is really important. So I'm just seeing some conversations coming through. Thank you. So interesting approach. I don't know who that is. It says LinkedIn user. I'll see if I can see on the other screen. Daniela. Hi, Daniela. How are you? Thank you for joining. Focus is usually on what hasn't been achieved. Absolutely. So, this is so powerful. I have people come to me and say that they don't understand the concept. They feel pressured into having to do a one-on-one, and they don't really know what to talk about, or they're not really sure how to connect in, and it feels like overkill. Use it and structure it. So a structure to a really good one-on-one is set up so that everybody knows what the conversation is going to be. And part of that structure can actually be, we're going to acknowledge what it is that we've done well this week. We're going to acknowledge what it is that we are proud of. And, the next part could be, so to the goals that we set last week, how have we gone against those? What could we have done better? So you can certainly look at how you can sort of stretch, and you might be able to do it better. But also, how can I support you as your leader to enable you to take steps forward and to do those things for next week, and then setting some clear goals again for what it is you want to do. But always acknowledgement, very, very powerful. And I think so many leaders, thank you, Darren, so many leaders go into this just looking at what they have, and there's pressure on it. There's pressure on leaders. So I completely understand that, you're focused on how you're going to get there and holding people accountable and responsible. Now, you can do that, and you should do that. And that's where the structure comes in. So having it really clearly defined, what are the goals? What are we aiming at? What are the KPIs? How are we measuring? What are the standards and expectations in terms of how we deal with each other and how we get things done? But acknowledgement, it doesn't take long, and it enables you to then have a deeper conversation on perhaps the things that could have been improved or could be done better, but also how you can support them moving forward to achieve what they need to achieve. We condition people to be prepared ahead of the conversation. Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Structure it. Exactly. So, what are the wins? What are the challenges? And what are we going to focus on for next week? And it's It's not overkill. People want to feel supported, they want to feel valued, and they also want to feel challenged. So I think that having those things there as a leader and having that structure just gives you a really a powerful tool, and it doesn't come across as micromanagement. But moving into the new era, the new world of work, this stuff becomes more and more important because you're not sitting down with people, you're not doing the water cooler conversations, which, to be honest, there's some great stuff in terms of innovation and so on. But in terms of results and growth and all of those things, these one-on-ones, even when you're in an office environment, are so crucial and important and powerful. So I'm coming towards time, so I'm thinking, the other thing, there's one other thing I've written here in terms of this trust sort of profile, and that is follow through. So, say if you say you're going to do something, if you commit to something with your team, then you need to follow through and you need to deliver on that. And that's going to enhance trust. You can imagine, and I'm sure you've had experiences where you've worked with leaders who have, they've done a lot of good things. They've said a lot of good things. There's a lot of good energy, but there's no follow through. And so, your role is to help people be successful. It's in terms of building trust as leaders, you really need to. You need to be worthy of that trust. So as we were saying earlier, you have to earn the trust. So make sure that when you do things, you follow through. And again, stick to the consistency, stick to the structure around how you check in and how you manage it, and make sure that whilst you are using acknowledgement, using gratitude and all of those wonderful tools, you are using, you are pushing people to continue to grow and develop, because I think that's something that, people are going to be missing working in the home environment, and good people and working in any environment, but good people really they love to be driven to be successful, and they love to be able to be pushed and for boundaries to be stretched. And so, look at ways you can do that, even in a hybrid or work from home type environment. And commit to it. That's right, Darren. And thank you, Shirley. Thank you for joining. So I am pretty much at 12 o'clock. That has been fun. I hope it's been helpful. There is a resource that I will put into the event. I'll pop it in the post. I think some of you may already have it, but I put together a resource just to sort of help kickstart your year in terms of some good engagement enhancing things that you can be doing. Let's enjoy, let's celebrate what we've learned and what's been available to us this year. Let's really try and come at this with a growth mindset, and launch into 2021 with absolute gusto. But take a step back, take a breath, work with your teams, set new empowering goals, connect back to purpose, and make sure that you are all on a journey together that is going to be enable you to win in 2021. I'm going to get emotional. I can't believe it's the end of the year already. It's absolutely flown. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a fabulous day. Have a fabulous Christmas. I'll be back popping up, but I won't be running another one of these until probably the third week in January, where I do have the CEO of a small global organization coming on to talk about how he has built teams on a global basis. So that's really exciting too. Merry Christmas, and enjoy your New Year's. Please take some downtime and spend some wonderful time with your family. Take a breath and enjoy. All right. Take care.